People&Power, and I'm Summer El-Shahat. On today's programme, betrayed in Basra.
الميليشيات بيعرف إن هذا مثلا اشتغل أسبوع أو 10 سنين ما بهم في الآخر يعني سوف يتم تصفيته يعني مليون %.
In the Iraqi city of Basra, the security situation for local civilians working with the British Army is becoming increasingly dire by the day. There are unconfirmed reports that some interpreters, considered traitors by militia groups, have already been hunted down and killed. And with the UK due to withdraw all troops by the end of July, one leading member of Basra's security forces has warned any remaining local staff to get out or die. The British government's promise of a resettlement scheme has resulted in only a handful of visas, leaving hundreds of Iraqis living in fear of reprisals.
When the sun sets in Basra, Karim comes out of hiding.
إذا ما لحقت على نفسي وطلعت من العراق أنا ميت.
The British government says life is getting back to normal in Basra, but not for Iraqis like Karim, who worked as interpreters for the British military.
قافل الموضوع أتاني يوم المحكمة هذا كل مترجم ما يقدر يغادر العراق ده ينتظره أنه يوصلك في يوم من الأيام ويقتلوك وقد يقتلون عائلتك أيضا.
When Danish troops pulled out of Iraq in 2007, they took all their interpreters and their families with them. The British have announced a resettlement scheme, but it's helping only a few hundred of the 5,000 to 6,000 interpreters. The rest have been left for the assassins, like Ali. He never leaves his house in Basra. Most of his friends have been killed. Like the other interpreters we filmed, even those who had escaped from Iraq, he was too scared to show his face.
أنا مظلوم يعني من واجد نواحي. اللي كنت وياهم ما رايديك، واللي أنت ضدهم ما رايديك. يعني أنا ليش انظلمت لهالدرجة وليش حياتي تحطمت.
The scheme offers nothing either to families of interpreters who have already been murdered. Suhad's husband Sami was kidnapped, tortured and killed almost within sight of a British base. Now she's struggling to bring up their 3 children in exile in Kuwait.
It was enough if I received one little piece of paper that they said we are sorry to what happened to Sami, but I received nothing from them. Until now I'm thinking why.
This is a story of betrayal at the highest levels of government. A colonial disregard for Iraqis who risked their lives to serve alongside British troops. Mark Brockway watched this from the inside as a warrant officer in the British Army. He recruited many of the interpreters and tried to protect them.
I feel disappointed and very angry that the British government did not put forward a policy and introduce a policy that covered the risks to these people who were ultimately essential to the mission that the British government were trying to execute out there.
The resettlement scheme forced out of the British government is helping a few, like Ahmad.
They felt so happy because they gave us a new chance to live. It's a new life waiting for me. I just want to start over and that's it. I just want to forget my past and what really happened to me.
But even Ahmad was kept dangling for a year in Syria, terrified the militias would reach him even there, while British bureaucrats pondered his application. He's now finally on his way. It's hard to remember now how warmly most Iraqis welcomed the British in 2003, after the invasion that overthrew Saddam Hussein. Haydar was one of them. After 7 months of British Army service, he's now a refugee in Syria.
كان في تصور إنه هذا السجن الكبير اللي هو في العراق كان راح يتحول للأفضل.
But by 2005, trust began to break down as militias opposed to the British occupation took control of Basra and started targeting the interpreters.
منهم تكست مسج يعني بالموبايلات وبنفس الوقت صار في تهديد مباشر
الفجرية تقريبا 6:15 هيك على ما أذكر يعني. بعد ما عبرنا آخر تشيك بوينت للوصول إلى القاعدة تم استهدافنا من قبل السيارة هي رمي مباشر. اجت طلقتين أو 3 في الشباك الخلفي. يعني أنا تمليت من البثور الصغيرة تبع القزاز.
Interpreters were relatively safe on the British bases and with the British troops, but they had to travel home at the end of every tour of duty, and the British Army just didn't seem to care what happened to their staff once they left work. Over 3 years, interpreters were systematically kidnapped, tortured and killed. One night in November 2006, Iraqis say militiamen set up a fake checkpoint, stopped a bus and killed 17 interpreters.
صار يسقط شخص ورا ثاني في اكشن بدون رياكشن. الرياكشن كان بطيء جدا او نقدر نقول معدوم. ثقة فقدت بشكل كبير جدا يعني.
For months, the interpreters kept going to work despite the death threats, begging for protection. None was given. When Haider's friend Sami was kidnapped and killed, his driver went back to the British base and reported it. The British didn't even call Sami's family.
المزعج في الأمر أنه قريب على اللوجيستيك بيس يعني ما في شيء مسافة كيلو 1000 متر يعني. ونوخذ من التشيك بوينت. طبعا التشيك بوينت أنا أسميها ديكوريشن فقط. لقوه في منطقة اسمها حمدان في أبو الخصيب. الولد بس how many bullets in his head I don't remember. أطرافه مقطعة، إذن من أذنه مقطعة، هيك أتذكر يعني. ملامحه كانت يعني unclear because يعني تعرض لتعذيب كثير يعني.
Here the details. A hole of a shot in the right eye. And it's taken out in the middle of the right party also.
Sami had already sent his wife Suhad and their 3 children to Kuwait and was about to join them.
He told me that he asked his boss about the protection and they did nothing for him. They not to try to do anything for him or to try to help him or to try to protect him. أنا لما أتخيل لحظة الخوف اللي كان زوجي فيها، اللي وقت ما صعد السيارة وعرف نفسه إنه خلاص منتهي، عارفة أشكال الموت اللي متعددة اللي إجت في باله شنو؟ ممكن قطع رأس، ممكن ذبح، ممكن ضرب لحد القتل، ممكن سحب بالسيارة، ممكن قتل برصاص يعني. وقبل هذا كله قبل لا تنتهي حياته في تعذيب.
Mark Brockway made numerous protests to his superiors. Finally, he resigned from the army.
I reacted to these types of incident with pure anger because, in my opinion, there were so many steps that could have been taken from all angles of British responsibility that could have minimised the risk to these people.
Somebody in Britain did care. Tom Porteous, London director of Human Rights Watch, began a campaign in early 2007 to get British journalists interested.
Over the period of the first half of 2007, there was sort of a certain amount of interest in the British media in this story as it went forward, and we tried to encourage that.
The Times, the BBC, Channel 4 News and others all responded with strong stories. In July 2007, Danish forces evacuated all their former staff and their families to Denmark. It took until August for the British government to start to change gear.
The British government had said that asylum claims by Iraqi interpreters would not receive special treatment, but the Prime Minister Gordon Brown has now ordered a review of the situation.
The government finally announced in October 2007 that it would grant up to 500 visas to interpreters and members of their families. After a year of waiting, Ahmad has finally arrived in the UK. He's been placed in a house in Bolton in northern England. The British government had seemed to do everything it could to put the interpreters off coming. It offered them several $1,000s each to stay in the Middle East. But Ahmad felt so threatened that he turned down the money. His resettlement package in the UK offers a rented house, job seekers allowance of about $95 a week, and support from the local refugee council.
Wuthering Heights, and Hard Times for Charles Dickens, and 12th Night for Shakespeare. Had a book about pictorial history of English football because I like football so much. Yeah, I'm so happy because I got my bag. Honestly, I didn't expect to be in England at the beginning. And it's been like a shock for me. So I can't explain it. It's just very, very happy moment to be on the plane and to see England, to be in Manchester airport. So it's very, very happy moments. And the first place I've been in, it is the kitchen. And the kitchen is so nice. Even the house is not furnished well, but the house is so big and warm enough. Yeah, it's so nice. And I spoke with some locals where I live here in Bolton. They are so friendly. And they just keep a smile at your face every time. And that's very good. Never seen that in Basra or even in Syria.
But most former interpreters found they were eligible for nothing. The scheme set strict criteria. You had to have worked for the British Army for a minimum of 12 continuous months. Kareem, Ali and Haider had been forced to stop working because of death threats. They hadn't worked long enough to qualify.
أنا سمعت مثل هذا الخبر وبالبداية كان جدا مفرح لنا لأن حسينا ببادرة عمل جديدة خلاص إن البريطانيين بدأوا يهتمون لنا لكن من تجي على أرض الواقع انصدمنا.
سنة إلا 6 أيام هذا هو العذر. تنتظر رحمة ربك بس 6 أيام ظلم.
الميليشيات بيعرف ان هذا مثلا اشتغل اسبوع او 10 سنين ما بهم في الاخر يعني سوف يتم تصفيته يعني مليون %. فليش حطوا يعني هذا المعيار؟ انا يعني اتمنى انه الاقي جواب لهالسؤال هذا.
After the break, the British offering help to those rejected by the resettlement scheme.